Hi again, I'm Greg, and welcome back to Hot Dog's Garage, where we're working on this 1969 Dodge Charger. And on today's episode, we're going to continue diving into the mysterious, often cursed, not understood world of automotive wiring, and continuing to decipher either these instructions or what may or may not be the Da Vinci Code. I will let you know. But we're going to go to the rear body harness, which on the American Auto Wire update is bag M. And yeah, this should be simple. Let's go. So to start the rear body harness, what we did is, this is part of the main dash harness, the main harness. So there's this little wire run here, so it comes down, mounts here. What you're gonna find out of this node from the dash harness, like I was saying in the dash harness video, is gonna be the dimmer switch, the plug for the rear body harness that we're gonna need, and the dome light one. So, and then up here is the door switch jamb, and I just ran this one through it. This is the parking brake light. I think what I'm going to do is, this is the wires from the dome light harness. So I think these come down. Well, I mean, I know they do. And then I'm just going to cut them to length here and make a connection there, and then zip tie them with some little mini zip ties. They give you the connector in the rear body harness kit, and these two, see if I can get these on there, those two. So, and this is pretty easy. There's orange on one side. These can only go in one way, although this is labeled, I don't know if you can see that, A and B. So it tells you, which I currently have forgot, which one A and which one B is. So this is scary. Cut them to length. I don't know if we need that. Alright, so you see nice and crimped on how the top crimp is right onto the insulation, and that bottom crimp is nice onto the copper itself. So now I'm going to slide these two into this connector from the back side, and then zip tie these together and then clip that in. So the orange goes into the A side. Let me double check. 69 to 70 charger, 2 dash connector, 2 dome light, orange, A. Okay, so when it doesn't work, you're my witnesses. Orange, thing I'm not colorblind, straight orange into orange right into the B connector. Just kidding. And that's how easily they clip in. Let's put a couple wool guys here to keep this nice and tidy. I'm not cutting all these ends out yet just because I don't know. One, I don't want to be slicing my hands up. And two, don't know if that's the where everything's gonna live. So, okay, like I said, that will just coil up in yonder. Hi. Now this guy, I believe, comes up to here and is gonna plug in to here. Maybe this should come up so you know what this. Oh, this is the dimmer switch, and it's already got the connections built on, that jumpers to the headlight switch and all of that. And I believe that guy, he's gonna live like this until the carpet goes in, and then he lives under the carpet. Then the rear body harness is gonna plug in to here. I think to here, and then run down along here. Although, I don't know if anybody's noticed, I don't have the little flappy wire channel things. And I don't know if those are welded in or screwed in. If you just self-tapper them in. That channel here. Or if I just put loom around it and it lives under the carpet right there. So that's actually looking pretty clean over here on this side. I'll get you in there. Okay, so you can see rear body plug. This goes to the dimmer switch like that, and then there's the dome light, and it's into there. Like I said, that is the door jamb, and then this is that light for the brake lights for this light. Okay, so the rear harness is long and complicated. No, actually not really. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only 5 wires. The feedback there. What is this white wire doing in here? That's not listed anywhere. Nowhere is that supposed to be involved in anything. Oh, it is. If you have a 70 Coronet that's a 4-door and you have rear door jamb switches. Well, what about the orange one? Trunk light. Don't need that either. Where'd this light blue one come from? Third brake light. Don't need that either. Okay, so got to untangle all of these and really only need these 5 and go to the back, which is going to be the backup lights, the license or the running lights, the backup lights, the left and the right rear, and the gas gauge. So let's untangle all of these so I can zip tie these 5 every couple of feet and start running that nice and pretty back to the rear. But this is quite a bit of wire. Got it separated, the white, the orange, and the blue. So now we just need to clean this up. But now I was thinking I might have just made a mistake, because the white one is for the rear door jamb. This will never be a 4-door car. The blue one is for a third brake light. I don't know if any 69 Chargers had a third brake light. I know this one will absolutely never have it. I don't even know if that was an option for 69 Chargers. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if the factory made it. But the orange one is for a trunk light switch, and I don't have a trunk light switch. But thinking about it, just a little switch and a thing. I know they're expensive, but I have a spot for it. I don't know if this car originally had it. I didn't have it on it when I got it, but what's the harm in just running the orange with everything? And if by chance one day I find a trunk light switch that I want to just screw in there, it'll work. I'll never have a third brake light, and I'll never have rear doors. So definitely no sense in doing that, but the trunk light switch is optional. I don't know. I have it. It's labeled. Looks nice. It is orange. It's a nice color. So I think I'm going to plug that one in. And that one goes into EF. I don't know. 40. Wire 40. This bottom one. So it goes next to 40, 19, 18. So it'll be the gas gauge, the brown, the yellow, the dark green, and then the orange. So the gas gauge, the brown, the yellow, the dark green, and the orange. Now I gotta put this back with all the other wires. All right, got the harness all situated. The brown one, the running light one, was extra long, so I coiled that up. And then the dark green and the light green, they gave you a lot of that because you got to jumper it. Then obviously the yellow and the orange taper off because you're going to use those less, or there's less of a run. But like I said, I just zip tied this all together. I didn't cut all these. These are kind of loose. I still got to go back and wrap it and stuff. These are just to keep it all clean and in one spot and not let the wires tangle up and go wherever they want, so we can kind of throw it out and we still have some semblance of organization. So that's going to get plugged into the dash harness, and then we're just going to run this on back to the trunk. Okay, so we got the rear body harness, and that is just going to snap into there and run along this little channel here all the way to the trunk. While I was running the harness to the rear of the vehicle, I realized that I had already installed the speakers in the back in the package tray. And then I remembered I had the speaker in the front in the dash as well. Then I realized I hadn't run any of the speaker wires, and while I was running the harness, that probably would be a good time to do that. So I went back, had to go get speaker wire, ran the speaker wire along with the same harness, I'll show you that, and then connected it to the speakers in the back, and then just ran that out the front of the faceplate, and then I hooked up the speaker wires that came with the retro sound dash speaker and ran that out the front. So now when I do get a radio eventually someday, whenever that happens, I'll be able to just make all the connections and put the radio in, and should be good there. And now that I have that run, I can start actually making the connections in the rear of the car. I still don't have the sheathing on this harness yet, but I don't think that'll be a big deal. I can still go back here and start making the connections. Okay, got a big mess there, but you can see I've got all the speaker wires hanging out the front, ready for the radio. And then I ran them with the rest of them up through this. And then I just ran these two with this harness and zip tied it together. Haven't cut any of these yet, but I still want to put the sheathing on this, or the, whatever you call it, the loom, and run that back up and along in through back here, which is just laying there. And then I did put some loom on the speaker wires that goes up, and then is zip tied underneath there and connected to those speakers. So now we can do is the fuel sender's got to go through a hole right here, which is not drilled, so I got to drill that hole. This is the fuel wire. This orange wire is the trunk light, which is supposed to go here, but I think I'm just going to coil it up and zip tie it right to there. And then the rest of these wires are going to come right in through here, and I'm going to start making my connections here. So I'm going to drill this hole out, get the fuel one connected, coil up the orange one, and then make the run here and keep going. Hole is drilled in the trunk floor and the rubber grommet is in, but let this be a lesson because that's way more difficult with the tank installed than it would have been if the tank was out. So I ended up having to drill that hole just a tickle off center. So now I just need to hook up the harness for the sending unit onto the sending unit and run the bitter end of that wire up through the trunk floor. Okay, harness is on the sending unit and routed up through the trunk floor. Now time to just go up and make that connection in the trunk floor and keep going. Okay, so the fuel sender wire is coming up through that grommet. The sender that we just put in, that's the other side of the connection. This is the trunk light harness that I'm just gonna zip tie over there. And then we just need to start laying this out. I still wanna put a sheath in it, but first, I'd like to put in this. There's a grommet here. This is gonna go to the tail lights, or I'm sorry, the reverse lights and the license plate light. So all the wires will go in through that grommet. And then let's go snap in all of our light bulbs and lights. That way we can see exactly how far we need to cut each of these wires as we jump them along. All right, we'll put the bulbs into the sockets, and for the dark green side will be the passenger side and the yellow side will be the driver side. So the two outermost on both sides will get bulb 1157, and then the two innermost, which are just the running light. So the two outer ones on either side will be the stop and turn as well as the tail lights, and the two inner ones will just be the parking lights and the running lights. And these call for 1035 according to the owner's manual. Some people online say 1157A, but these only have one contact in the bottom, where the 1157s have two. So doing some online research on dodgecharger.com found that bulb 67 is a little smaller, but the base is the same and it's one contact and it's the same voltage as the original ones that came in these. But I guess the 1035s are super hard to find. I couldn't find them at any of my parts stores around here or even on Amazon. So 67 seem to be pretty available. So it's 4 1157s, and then the inside is 267. So I'll put these bulbs in and snap them into the tail lights. Okay, got the passenger side in, and now work on the driver side, which is the yellow ones. And again, the ones with the yellow wires are going to go on the two outer side, and the one with just the ground and the brown wire for the running lights are going to go on the inside. And there is a little notch in here on the actual housing, and you can just snap it right in. You could see there's a cutout up here on that side, and then the ground wire will just go up to the top on either side. And I can't say enough good things about this American Auto Wire update harness. I mean, that was it. That's literally it. Okay, so now I need to actually get the sheathing and permanently put this down, and then we're gonna start making some cuts, because that is scary. So what you see is this yellow wire will come into here and then jumper to here. The brown wire will come into here, jumper to here, jumper to here, jumper to the tail lights. I'm sorry, the license plate light, and then to all three of these. The dark green, obviously, is going to bypass all of it and just jumper to the other outside too on that one. And then the light green is going to go through here to the reverse lights. So let's put a sheath on all this, get this all secure, make the fuel tank connection back there, and then jumper all of these, and that is pretty much it for the rear tail lights. A change of plans, because I don't have the wire loom sheathing. I'm going to start with the ground, and I'm going to start with the looped end here and go into this first connector, and then to the second one, and then to the third one. I don't have to go to the side marker light because that's for the 70 only. So it's just going to be 1, 2, 3 of these double connectors. And that way I can at least get this screwed in to, I'm going to ground this to the tail light, or I'm going to leave enough where if I have to screw it into the trunk floor support or to the trunk lock support or whatever, I can move it around if I need to. And then I'm going to go to here, to this connector, and that'll at least give me where these connectors are going to live, and then that way I can route these permanently and actually make these connections a little bit better rather than guessing on these and then stretching the ground. So I'm going to do opposite everywhere else I've done, and I'm going to start with the ground this time. All right, so I made the ground jumper wires for both tail lights. So that's the ground to here, to the running light, to the stop turn tail light, to the stop turn tail light, and then I didn't go to obviously that one. So the last one is just a single wire connector on that one. So this will be to the tail light or the body. This will be to the running light, stop turn tail, stop turn tail. All right, so I went to O'Reilly and just picked up this cheap braided wire loom. I got 10 feet of the 3/4 and 10 feet of the half, and then the 3/4, actually 10 feet was perfect to go from basically this connection, run it all the way down around right to the start of the trunk. This goes up, that wire goes up for the speakers, and then I'm gonna start the 1/2 inch run right there back to the tail lights. So actually 3/4 of 10 foot is pretty much exactly what you need. And then I'm hoping the 10 foot for the 1/2 inch, because there's no speaker wire and it gets a lot less, I'm hoping the 10 foot will be good enough to start from here, run around to this side basically. And remember, we'll take a wire out for the fuel sender, take a wire out for the trunk. Wires will come out for the left stop and turn signal, and then for the reverse lights. So the farther we go, the less wires we'll have in the run. So I think this 1/2 inch will be perfect just to get us right back to where we need to go. Okay, so I've done a few of these connections, but it's pretty time consuming. So I'll walk you through one connector and then I'll just do the rest and show you how I laid out the harness back here. But so obviously the yellow one is the driver's side. I started that connector. The brown one is the running lights. That's gonna jumper to all of them. And then I have that ground harness that I made, the ground wire harness that I made. The light green, the backup lights, and the dark green, I just kind of ran, sat out of the way here for now. And so I'll make one of these connectors. So they give you one of these, which is the male version of these connectors, and it can only go one way. So the black goes on top. The yellow would of course go across from the yellow, and it's the same way. So you can see it's obviously just going to go in from, oops, sorry, wrong way, this way. So you're going to, so this is the one on the end. So that's gonna snap in like that. And then the yellow is gonna go on the right or left side, across from the yellow. And the brown, oops, here is gonna go on that side. So you could see yellow across from yellow, black goes on top, and then that's just going to
make that connection like that. So now we just got to do the yellow and the brown into this one, snap this black one into the top, and then the brown into here, and then do all of those ones along the way. So I'm gonna just do that, and I'll show you how I've tidied it all up. Okay, little update. Driver's side is done. Got them all jumpered here. The license plate light and the reverse lights are run out this little grommet down here, and then back in behind there. And I just need to make the connections on this side, and I realized that I haven't really gone over how I'm making these connections. So this is the running light. Obviously the stop and turn are only the two outside. So I'll make these connections here for the running light. And then obviously this one, just like the other side, will just be the running light and the ground, which I already have done. So you're going to basically, I'm leaving a lot of slack because I don't have the cover that goes over it. So I've got a lot of slack here. I know some people want to suck it in tighter, but I don't care to having a nice loop where there's no stress or strain, because these grounds up here are not, I mean, they're pretty solid, but I don't know. I'm not hauling freight, cargo, nothing like that. So gonna just get enough to come out of here and loop nice and gently into here. So if that's in here, we're looking at about that much. Not a perfect science. That's always scary. Okay, so then we want to grab the wire strippers and strip off just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Then you want to grab the brown that you're going to keep running, because we have to double these up. Strip this one the exact same amount. Perfect. Then you need a double connector. So you can see it's double wide in there. Then it doesn't matter this part, the length, because we're going to be cutting. It gets messy, not gonna lie. It's a little controlled chaos. So all we care about are these two right here. And we need the bigger, the double connection tool from American Auto Wire. And we want to make sure that this is going to go kind of coil out that way. So now we're going to get our double connector and lay them in here side by side. And you want them, I don't know if you can see that, just like so. So the inner one will catch the copper and the outer ones will catch the insulation. Then you want to take the big side of the tool, make sure you're over it properly. You know what, I don't like how much copper is sticking out, so we're gonna trim just a little bit. See if that's better. That's better. Okay, so we're going to use the big side of the tool, or closest to the edge first, and make a crimp. And you can see we can still move it around. So the inside's just catching the copper, and the outside, or the ones on the end, will catch the insulation. So then we're going to flip the tool over, go all the way to the inside. I like to put just a little pressure on it, and then we can adjust the wires, make sure they're not sticking out too far. Make that crimp. So now the inside crimp has been made. And then you flip the tool back over again. Make sure it's nice and snug there. And give that a crimp. And now we've got a good double connection like so. And then that will snap into the back. I think it's the side of this one. Forget which one goes on top. Okay, so now we just got to do that with a couple more times, and then with the green, and lay these up in here underneath like this, and we'll be done. Okay, I thought I'd show you the grommet that comes out of the trunk. This is the running lights to the license plate light. That is just a connector that will just tuck up into there. You won't see that. Then this is the reverse lights. Then it comes down behind the bumper. And there's a cutout in the top of this valence panel that looks like that. And it's just open metal, obviously. And I put a rubber grommet in there. And then I ran this wire down through. And then I'm going to make a connection here. And then run it back up through here and over to the other side and back down, rather than underneath and have to go around the fuel tank and the exhaust and everything. I did find a couple forums online that said that I believe the original harness had 2 wires that split for the reverse lights, one that went this way and one that went that way. The auto wire update kit does not provide that. It tells you to go one, to jumper it, and then go to the other. So since it says that on the driver's side here, you're looking at the rear of the car like this, it would come in, jumper from this side over to this side. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I did get the reverse lights, the backup lights done. The original ones, it says on here, has a male bullet connector, but the reproduction ones that I had actually had this female side on it. So I started out by putting the male side on the harness itself, but then realized that this one that was supplied by the harness was too small for this one that came on the aftermarket reverse lights. So I ended up just cutting the pigtails off of the aftermarket reverse lights and using some of the extra female butt connectors and utilizing both connectors from the American Auto wire for the reverse lights. So that completes the rear body harness. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of Hot Dogs Garage, where we made Thomas Edison proud and tackled some electricity. Anyway, I'm gonna stop wiring for a little bit. I think I'm gonna start going on to something easier, like the brakes and all the brake lines, and or the entire front end of the car, and just ripping that apart and rebuilding the entire front suspension, which I already started. So I don't know where I'm going, but we're going somewhere. So thanks again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Chili dog with melted cheese and a complete mess. So thank you.